Hello my friends, today we will take a look at another budget-friendly wide-angle prime lens from Samyang, the AF24mm F2.8 FE for Sony E-mount. One of the main advantages of mirrorless systems is supposed to be the size and the weight. That is why I'm always glad to see small full-frame lenses that can take an advantage of that. I've tested this lens with Sony A7III with 24MP sensor, so let's take a look at how it performs. AF24mm F2.8 FE is the second pancake prime lens made by Samyang. The other one is 35mm version that I have tested as well, and I will show you how it performs in another video. 24mm is an interesting focal length. It is not ultra wide, but still wide enough for landscapes, interiors, architecture, and so on. It is probably the widest focal length that I would still consider for all-round shooting. F2.8 is still relatively wide aperture, so if your subject is close enough, you can have a bit of blurred background, but that is not the main use of this lens. It is really tiny. It is just 3.7 cm long, so it definitely is a pancake lens. The weight is just 120 grams, so it weighs almost nothing. I really like the idea of having a full frame performance in very small package, and when you mount this lens on Sony A7III, it is indeed very small, light and portable. That makes this lens very suitable for traveling and street photography. Besides that, it is also very suitable for the use on a gimbal. I've been using the A7III with AF24mm F2.8 for testing Zhiyun Weebill lab, and it was a perfect match. This gimbal works the best with small and light setups, so it was very easy to balance. 24mm field of view is also pretty easy to stabilize, so I've been getting very good results. I have made a full review of this gimbal with A7III and AF24mm F2.8, so I will leave a link to that in the description. The build quality of this lens is pretty good. It is made of plastics and it is very light, so I can't say that it feels particularly premium, but it is completely fine, it doesn't feel cheap either. The mount is actually plastic as well, and it is painted in silver color, which is a bit funny. I haven't had any issues with that, but I would definitely prefer metal mount. This lens is not weather sealed, that would be too much to ask in the size and price category. It uses relatively common 49mm filter thread, and it comes with this tiny little sun hood. I'm not sure whether it can minimize the lens flare, but at least it provides some protection for the front element. AF24 and 35mm f2.8 lenses also come with protective case, which is very practical for traveling, so thumbs up for that. The only control element on this lens is the focusing ring. It uses focus-by-wire system, of course. Focusing ring actually has very nice amount of resistance and it is very smooth, which is a bit surprising. It doesn't have much feel though. Fortunately, the manual focusing is linear, so you can make repetitive focus pulls with the same results. It is generally okay for manual focusing. Regarding the image quality, I have tested this lens with 24MP sensor in Sony A7III, which is not as demanding as the high-resolution sensors. The performance is generally very good with this sensor. It is sharp right from f2.8. Surprisingly, the sharpness is very even from corner to corner. The sharpness increases at f4. The sharpest point is f5.6, where it is very sharp in the center of the frame and in the corners as well. The sharpness very slightly decreases at f8 and the diffraction slowly starts to appear at f11. Overall, I am very happy with the sharpness in combination with this sensor, so here we can see the advantage of lower pixel density of 24MP full frame sensor in comparison with smaller sensors with higher pixel density. It produces very nice colors, the contrast is pretty good, and I don't see any unnatural color shift. I can't really say that it has particular optical character, but I generally like the shots taken with this lens. I use this lens with in-camera corrections turned on, just like any other lens, and I recommend you to do the same. The amount of chromatic aberration is surprisingly low for this type of lens. There is almost no chromatic aberration, and what is left can be easily fixed in editing. The vignetting is definitely visible at f2.8 and f4. It is better from f5.6, but there will always be a bit of vignetting. It can also be fixed in Luminar or Lightroom, and the end result looks good, so I don't mind that. Minimum focusing distance is 35 cm and the magnification is 0.12 times, so it is not suitable for close-up shots as expected. The autofocus with this lens in combination with A7 III is excellent. In stills, it behaves basically as with Sony lens, it is very fast and accurate, even the tracking works well. Focusing at 24mm is not the most difficult task, A7 III has excellent autofocus, so it just works well, there is not much more that I can tell you about that. All modes, including the real-time eye autofocus, work as well. It is the same in video. You can definitely use continuous autofocus with this lens mounted on A7 III. Focusing is very accurate and reliable, the speed depends on the settings in A7 III, and the smoothness is great as well, so I am very happy with the video autofocus. That is especially important if you are using this lens on a gimbal, and it is one more reason why I like to use this combination so much together with the Weebill lab. It is possible to hear autofocus noise, but I did a couple of tests with a shotgun mic and it didn't pick up the focusing noise, so it is possible to use this lens and record the audio internally. The amount of focus breathing is minimal, so this lens is generally very suitable for video use. Samyang AF lenses are not stabilized, but Sony A7 III fortunately has in-body image stabilization. At 24mm it is very effective and it helps a lot. You can go very low with shutter speed, something like 1/8 or even quarter of a second is okay if you have steady hands. It makes a big difference for handheld video as well. It also helps a lot when I'm using it on a gimbal, because it can take care of smaller jitter, while the gimbal takes care of larger movements, so that works great altogether. The closest alternative to this lens is probably Sony FE28mm F2. That is also one of my most favorite primes for A7 III. It is a bit longer, but it is still very small and portable. It has aperture brighter by 1 stop. 28mm focal length is a bit more neutral and less dramatic, so it is probably the most usable all-round focal length. On the other hand, it is what most smartphones shoot, so it may look a bit generic in some cases. It is also very sharp, but it needs to be stopped down a bit to get more details in the corners. I would say that the choice between these two depends mainly on which focal length you prefer. AF24mm F2.8 is also a very good complementary lens for very popular Tamron 28-75mm F2.8 zoom lens. With this combination you have that wide-angle 24mm focal length that is missing on 28-75, and you also have an option to have smaller and lighter setup, so this combination makes a lot of sense in my opinion. To sum up, Samyang AF 24mm F2.8 FE is in my opinion a great budget-friendly wide-angle lens for Sony A7 Mark III. It is small, light and reasonably well made apart from that plastic mount. I like 24mm focal length. It is great for landscapes, architecture and traveling. F2.8 is still pretty bright aperture. The sharpness is very good right from f2.8 and it is even better at f4 and f5.6. The colors are also nice and I generally like the stills and video that I am getting from this combination. At that price and size there really isn't anything that I could criticize apart from that plastic mount, which is not that big of a deal. It is just well designed wide-angle pancake prime lens, so I highly recommend it, and I am looking forward to testing more Samyang autofocus lenses. I have already made a review of AF 35mm f1.4, it will be linked in the description, so you can take a look at that as well if you are interested. So that's it for this video, thank you for watching, I hope that you liked this video and that you have found it to be useful. Stay tuned for more videos and maybe consider subscribing if you don't want to miss my future content. I appreciate your feedback in form of thumbs up or thumbs down. If you would like to ask anything or share your opinion, please do so in the comment section and see you next time.